If you are not ready with this, I can help you with. Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Shuklambaradharam Vishnum Shashivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasanna Vadanam Vyayet Sarva Vignopashantaye Narayanam Padma Sishtam Shaktin Cha Tatputra Parasharam Cha Vyasam Shukam Gaudapadam Mahantam Govinda Yogindram Ata Asya Shishyam Shri Shankaracharyam Ata Asya Padmapadam Cha Hastamalakam Cha Shishyam Tam Totakam Vartikakaram Anyan Asmadgurun Santatamanathosmi Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryankaravavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Yeah, you can start now, Suma.
श्रीमद्भगवद्गीता गीताध्यानश्लोकः ॐ पार्थाय बोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्धदामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम् नमोऽस्तु ते व्यासविशालबुद्धे पुल्लारविन्दायतपत्रनेत्र येन त्वया भारततैलपूर्णः प्रज्वालितो ज्ञानमयः प्रदीपः प्रपन्नपारिजाताय स्तोत्रवेत्रैकपाणये ज्ञानमुद्राय कृष्णाय गीतामृतदुहे नमः। सर्वोपनिषदो गावो दोग्धा गोपालनन्दनः पार्थो वत्ससुधीर्भोक्ता दुग्धं गीतामृतं महत्। मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवम्। यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदः क्रमोपनिषदैर्गायन्ति यं सामगाः। ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनो यस्यान्तं न विदुः सुरासुरगणा देवाय तस्मै नमः। देवाय तस्मै नमः। श्रीभगवानुवाच तद्विद्धिः प्रणिपातेन परिप्रश्नेन सेवया उपदेक्ष्यन्ति ते ज्ञानं ज्ञानिनस्तत्त्वदर्शिनः। यज्ञात्वा न पुनर्मोहम् एवं यास्यसि पाण्डव येन भूतान्यशेषेण द्रक्ष्यस्यात्मन्यथो मयि। अपि चेदसि पापेभ्यः सर्वेभ्यः पापकृत्तमः सर्वं ज्ञानप्लवेनैव वृजिनं सन्तरिष्यसि। यथैधांसि समिद्धोऽग्निः भस्मसात् कुरुतेऽर्जुन ज्ञानाग्निः सर्वकर्माणि भस्मसात् कुरुते तथा। न हि ज्ञानेन सदृशं पवित्रमिह विद्यते तत्स्वयं योगसंसिद्धः कालेनात्मनि विन्दति श्रद्धावान् लभते ज्ञानं तत्परः संयतेन्द्रियः ज्ञानं लब्ध्वा परं शान्तिम् अचिरेणाधिगच्छति अज्ञश्चाश्रद्धदानश्च संशयात्मा विनश्यति नायं लोकोऽस्ति न परो न सुखं संशयात्मनः योगसन्न्यस्तकर्माणं ज्ञानसञ्छिन्नसंशयम् आत्मवन्तं न कर्माणि निबध्नन्ति धनञ्जय तस्मादज्ञानसम्भूतं हृत्स्थं ज्ञानासिनात्मनः चित्वैनं संशयं योगम् आतिष्ठोत्तिष्ठ भारत ॐ तत्सत् इति श्रीमद्भगवद्गीतासु उपनिषत्सु ब्रह्मविद्यायां योगशास्त्रे श्रीकृष्णार्जुनसंवादे ज्ञानकर्मसन्न्यासयोगो नाम चतुर्थोऽध्यायः। अथ पञ्चमोऽध्यायः कर्मसन्न्यासयोगः। अर्जुन उवाच सन्न्यासं कर्मणां कृष्ण पुनर्योगं च शंससि यच्छ्रेययेतयोरेकं तन्मे ब्रूहि सुनिश्चितम्। श्रीभगवानुवाच सन्न्यासः कर्मयोगश्च निःश्रेयसकरावुभौ तयोस्तु कर्मसन्न्यासात् कर्मयोगो विशिष्यते ज्ञेयस्य नित्यसन्न्यासी यो न द्वेष्टि न काङ्क्षति निर्द्वन्द्वो हि महाबाहो सुखं बन्धात् प्रमुच्यते साङ्ख्ययोगौ पृथक् बालाः प्रवदन्ति न पण्डिताः एकमप्यास्थितः सम्यक् उभयोर्विन्दते फलम् यत्साङ्ख्यैः प्राप्यते स्थानं तद्योगैरपि गम्यते एकं साङ्ख्यं च योगं च यः पश्यति स पश्यति।
सन्न्यासस्तु महाबाहो दुःखमाप्तुमयो गतः योगयुक्तो मुनिर्ब्रह्मा न चिरेणाधिगच्छति. Thank you, Suma. That was nice, very nice. This is the first time I heard you. You should come up on our Gita Parayanas. We do on the quarterly basis.
Sure, thank you.
All right. So we have been discussing the fifth chapter. Arjuna had this question. See, Krishna has been talking about karma sannyasa, karma yoga, and there was some confusion in Arjuna. He does not like the war, and so he thinks that he can do the karma sannyasa, give up the karma. Krishna says, no, that's not that easy. It's, like karma sannyasa and karma yoga, they are one and the same, he says. Sankhya yoga pruthak bhalaha pravadantina panditaha ekamapyastitaha samyak ubayor vindate palam. So he says Sankhya and the yoga, they give the same benefit. He says, see, we have buy one, get one free. In the marketing, in supermarkets, you see buy one, get one free. Krishna has already said that you buy one Karma Yoga, you get Sankhya Yoga for free, he says. So you get both Karma Yoga and Sankhya Yoga. Upayor vindate phalam. If you do Karma Yoga, you will get to Sankhya. That's what his Arjuna wanting is, so Krishna grants him that, and he also says, Sannyasastu Mahabaho Dukkhamaptu Mayogata. If you want to do karma sannyasa, you cannot do that without the support of Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga becomes the anchor, and therefore karma sannyasa becomes easier at that time. If you don't practice karma yoga, ayoga sannyasa dukkhamaptum. It's very difficult. It's not possible, he says. So that's where we stopped the last class. We will continue with the next. Let me see here. Yoga yukto vishuddhatma vijitatma jitendriya sarvabhutatma bhutatma kurvannapina lipyate. Is you vishuddhatma vijitatma jita indriya yoga yukta. This is the definition of yoga yukta. One, a karma yogi, he is having a pure mind, vishuddhatma, vijitatma, with my mind in his control, and jita indriya, he has sense organs also in control. So the body, the mind, and the sense organs, they are all pure. Such an integrated person, you can say, he's integrated all his faculties in the thought of one. That thought is Paramatma. So all these are working together. The sense organs, the body, and the mind, they are working together in the thought of Bhagavan. That is an integrated person. That's a karma yogi. Sarva bhuta atma, bhuta atma. In addition, he gives one more qualifier, whose self is the self of all beings. The same Paramatma pervades everywhere. Myself and yourself, everybody's that Atma is one and the same. Such a person who understands this equanimity of the Atma being the same in everyone, such a person, kurvan apina lipyate, he is not tainted even in action, he says. Whatever action he does, he has mastered karma yoga in the spirit of offering to the Lord. Therefore, karma does not bind him. He is not lipyate. Lipyate means is to smear, is to taint. So karma does not say taint such a person. So this person, fortified with the yoga and a pure mind, having control over body and sense organs, and he who sees the same self in him and every being, his actions do not bind him. That means he does not have to experience the fruit of his karmas. See, experiencing the fruit of the karma in a material world, you may say that is good. But what happens there is, it's not the good karmas. We have done so many negative karmas, and that causes pain. So when you look at it in the whole picture, experiencing the fruits of karma is a mixed bag, and more often it is painful than it is not. So that is the mind that we have to develop, that this fruits of action is not in my interest in the pursuit of Atma. Okay, let's see what sub commentators discuss, give us here. So this integrated person who is integrated, who has his disciplinary practice, he has with his disciplinary practice, he has attained what? He has his mind purified, Vijitatma. He has his body under his control, Vishuddhatma. And the sense organs purified, Jitendriya. The sense organs purified means he has control over his sense organs. See, the sense organs have the tendency to go after the sense objects. Now, who has to control the sense organs? The mind has to control the sense organs. And in order to for the mind to control sense organs, then our mind should be pure. When I say mind should be pure, we will see this. We have seen in the past, and we'll see again here also today. that it is free of all the knots of life. Kama, Krodha, Lobha, things we will explain later on. So that if the mind is purified, then the mind can tell the sense organs, hey, hold on, that is not in my good. See, sense organs themselves don't have as much discretion as the mind. The mind depends on the intellect for its discretion. So this is not good. If I have touched fire once and it burned, that burning of the hand is stored in my mind as an impression. Next time I go near the fire, it tells me, hold on, it's not good for you, don't touch the fire. Like that, every actions that we undertake comes through the filter of the mind. And if the mind allows everything for the sense organs to pursue everything, then it is not a Jitendriya. So the mind has to be able to control the sense organs. Such a person becomes an integrated person. So when you attain these three, then the fourth one, Sarva Bhutatma Bhutatma, kind of falls as a bonus. When you have your mind purified and the sense organs are under your control, Sarva Bhutatma Bhutatma, he comes to recognize that the same Ishvara is pervading in all beings. Yeah, in all beings means from a blade of grass to create a Brahma who is the most evolved person in this entire universe. The most evolved person of this Kalpa becomes the Brahma of the next Kalpa. So, such a and Anjaneya is designated as the Brahma for the next cycle, for the next creation. So, within this entire range of beings, from a blade of grass to create a Brahma, the same Atma pervades through all of them. That is Sarva Bhutatma Bhutatma. Once you recognize that, then you take off your costumes, your body and mind are all costumes. Then everybody stands identical with the same Atma. That is an integrated person. That means he has attained that self-knowledge. And for such a person, karma will not bind a man. Whatever karma he does, it doesn't get registered in his mind. That is the kartrutva. When we say kartrutva, doership, when we have a doership, it is intellectually stored in my mind. But I should conduct myself so that such that action does not register in the mind. That is what is called here, karma will not bind a man endowed with the above. That means karma doesn't get registered in the mind, and therefore the karma phala also doesn't exist. Karma phala exists only if there is an entry in the mind. If there is no entry in the mind, there is no karma phala, and that is an integrated person. So one who is not a karma yogi, we call him a karmi. In Sanskrit, that's the one who has dharma is a dharmi, one who has karma is a karmi. So the karmi is bonded to his fruits of actions, and he has to experience those fruits of actions in this life or in a future life. If it is experienceable in the current life, he will experience in this current he or she will experience in this current life. If it is not experienceable in this future life, then it has to be, if it's not experienceable in this life, then it has to be in a future life. So, what is it that causes this birth in a, another life or experiencing fruits of action? The impurities of the mind, which sees the duality. What happens when I don't see the Atma everywhere, I see only bodies. That means I'm seeing myself different from that person. Then arises certain reactions in my mind called kama and krodha, desire or anger, a desire to possess it, or desire to keep it away from me. If it is something that has given me a good experience, good feeling in the past, sukha, then I want that. If something has given me a bad experience, dukkha, I want to keep it away. So these are the impurities of the mind. So seeing the duality that kama and krodha arises in him, and kama desire comes, and if you somewhere along the line desire fades, you don't achieve. You may my desire is satisfied one time, two times, then I keep on increasing the bar. Oh, I got this much today. Tomorrow I should be able to get more. So somewhere along the line, that desire chain drops, cuts itself. Then I get angry. Why did I not get my desire today? And then desire leads to hoarding. Oh, I have so much today. I should have more tomorrow. We all hoard money. We all hoard wealth. But there is some value in sharing with other people. So hoarding is another knot, impurity of the mind. And then all these becomes adds to what? Delusion. I get confused. What is right? What is wrong? Because if the desire drives me, anger drives me, then I've lost the rationality of living. Then that causes delusion, the confusion of what is right and what is wrong. And arrogance and jealousy. If I don't get my desire and you get the desire that I wanted, then I become jealous about you. So these, and if I get more of that desire, I become more arrogant. So these are all related, all of them sourced in the desire. So desire is what we need to control. So these impurities make a person hate other persons. In a little sense, you may be able to like a person, but somewhere along the line, if desire predominates, anger predominates, then it's inevitable you start hating other people. That is what Krishna is warning against in terms of managing our Shuddhatma, Vijitatma. He is saying managing ourselves. So develop these characteristics that are against, that are a poison or a pill against this desire, anger, hoarding. So antidote to these knots of fire in the mind. And what is that medication that is prescribed, that Krishna is prescribing to overcome this desire, anger, is seeing himself in everybody. If I see myself in everybody, in English they say, put yourself in his or her shoes. So that means you come to appreciate, you come to empathize with the other person, and then our anger subsides, and we expect to see the other person in a more friendly term. And that seeing yourself in everybody is the medication for overcoming desire, anger, etc. So developing these characteristics, even if he is engaged in karma for societal welfare, when I practice desire-free life, motiveless life, I said desire causes me anger, karma. Desire causes me to engage in karma. But if that desire is not there, I can be doing karma for societal welfare. Then that karma will not bind him. The desire-driven karma will bind me to experience the fruits of karma. But desire-free karma, because that is intellectually disconnected from the physical action of karma, there is no impression in the mind. And because there is no impression in the mind, he is not tainted by it. So with that, he's really not doing karma in the spiritual sense. Physically, he may be doing karma, but since it doesn't get registered in his database, then he is really not doing karma, because there will be no fruits associated with that. In that sense, he is not really doing karma. That is explained in the next verse. We will come to that after we learn this verse. Yoga yukta vishuddhatma.
Yoga yukta vishuddhatma. Yoga yukta vishuddhatma.
Vijitatma jita indriya.
Vijitatma jita indriya. Vijitatma jita indriya.
Yoga yukto vishuddhatma. विजितात्मा जितेन्द्रियः
योगयुक्तो विशुद्धात्मा विजितात्मा जितेन्द्रियः योगयुक्तो विशुद्धात्मा विजितात्मा जितेन्द्रियः योगयुक्तो विशुद्धात्मा विजितात्मा जितेन्द्रियः
सर्वभूतात्मा भूत आत्मा
सर्वभूत आत्मा सर्वभूत आत्मा
कुर्वन् अपि न लिप्यते
कुर्वन् अपि न लिप्यते
सर्वभूतात्मा भूतात्मा कुर्वन् अपि न लिप्यते
सर्वभूतात्मा कुर्वन्नपि न लिप्यते सर्वभूतात्मा कुर्वन्नपि न लिप्यते सर्वभूतात्मा कुर्वन्नपि न लिप्यते
योगयुक्तो विशुद्धात्मा विजितात्मा जितेन्द्रिय भूतात्मा कुर्वन्नपि न लिप्यते
योगयुक्तो विशुद्धात्मा विजितात्मा जितेन्द्रियः सर्वभूतात्मा कुर्वन्नपि न लिप्यते योगयुक्तो विशुद्धात्मा विजितात्मा जितेन्द्रियः सर्वभूतात्मा कुर्वन्नपि न लिप्यते योगयुक्तो विशुद्धात्मा विजितात्मा जितेन्द्रियः सर्वभूतात्मा कुर्वन्नपि न लिप्यते
5, 6 and 7 यत् सांख्यै प्राप्यते स्थानं तद्योगैरपि गम्यते एकमं सांख्यं च योगं च यः पश्यति स पश्यति सन्न्यासस्तु महाबाहो दुःखमाप्तुमयो गतः योगयुक्तो विशुब्रह्मा न चिरेणाधिगच्छति योगयुक्तो विशुद्धात्मा विजितात्मा जितेन्द्रियः सर्वभूतात्मा भूतात्मा कुर्वन्नपि न लिप्यते कुर्वन्नपि न लिप्यते even if he is not even if he is working he is not detached. How is it? That is being explained in the next verse. These two the next that is 8th and 9th should be together. There is no just way to separate them. We will do these two verses together. Naiva kinchit karomiti yukto manyeta tattvavit pashyan shrinvan sprishan jigran ashnan gachan swapanshvasan. This second line, the first line of the next verse has a mouthful to say. Let's see here. Naiva tattvavit yuktaha, this accomplished knower, one who sarva bhutatma we said in the last verse, that is a tattvavit, the one who knows the truth. Tattvavit yuktaha, this accomplished knower, na eva kinchit karomi iti manyeta. What does he think? I am not doing anything, and that is the way manyeta he should think. That is what is an kind of a order. Manyeta, may he affirm that I am imperative word there. May he affirm that I am not doing anything. What does he mean by not doing anything? Means Krishna lists a number of activities like the building blocks of our actions. Pashyan, Shrinvan, Sprishan, Jigran. Pashyan is to see, Shrinvan is to hear, Sprishan is to touch, Jigran is to smell. Ashnan, Gachan, Swapan, Shwasan. Eating, walking, sleeping, and breathing. Similarly, in the next verse, Pralapan Visrijan Grandan Unishan Nimishannapi Indriyani Indriyartheshu Vartanta Iti Dharayana. Pralapan is to talk, Visrijan is releasing, Grandan is holding, Umishan Nimishannapi, opening and closing of the eyes, Indriyani Indriyartheshu Vartanta. He is of the opinion that these sense objects, sense organs are interacting with the sense objects. Iti Dharayan, he asserts, he is fully aware that he, the Atma, the real he, the Atma, is detached from the sense organs, and therefore the sense organs are, it is the job of the sense organs to go after the sense objects. Therefore, all these actions that constitute this interaction of the sense organs with the sense objects, Ashyan, Shunvan, Sprishan, Jigran, Ashnan, Gachan, Swapan, Shwasan, Pralapan, Visrajan, Grindan, Unnishan, Vishan, Napi, they happen in their domain. I see here there is a very specific indicator of the differences of the domain, the Atma domain and the sense organs domain. So I am the Atma, I am in my domain, detached from all the things that is happening in the material world, and that is these sense organs are interacting with sense objects, and I have nothing to do with it. So the accomplished deems I am not engaged in any action, and he specifies what they are: seeing, hearing, touching, smelling, eating, going, sleeping, breathing, talking, excreting, receiving, opening and closing of eyes are interactions of the sense organs with the sense objects. So these are all like the building blocks of our actions, and all of them are happening in the domain of the Anatma, and I am the Atma. I remain in the domain of Atma. Therefore, I have nothing to do with this. That's his firm conviction. That's the way he interacts in this world. Let's see here. So, a knower of the Tattva, Tattvavit is one with the Tattva or Tattvajnani. He has the knowledge of the Tattvas. That is, the Atma is pervading everywhere. The same Atma pervades in all beings. That is a Tattvajnani. So he has experienced the Supreme Self. Only when you know what that Supreme Self is, you can see that the same Atma exists in everybody else. If I don't know, if I say my body is my Atma, then I see different bodies, different Atmas. That is not the real knowledge. The correct knowledge is I am not the body, I am the inner self. That innermost self in me is the same in every other being. That is a Tattvajnani. So he has experienced that Supreme Self. So he is residing in that self. Here he has, or he must have, reconciliation that he is not engaged in the action, in seeing, hearing, etc. So as I said, you separate out the domains. There's the domain of the Atma, there's the domain of the Anatma. All actions happen in the domain of the Anatma, and the action is the interaction between the sense organs and sense objects. I see a beautiful flower outside. That is the interaction of my eyes with the flower. The flower is the sense object. My eyes are the sense organs. Like that, you translate that to every sense organ. Only such a knower of the truth is an integrated person. Again, integrated person, Vishuddhatma, Vijitatma, Jitendriyaha, these are all in him. Without the ego of seeing or hearing, etc., he remains aloof from the sense objects and sense organs. So that is one kind of person. Now, how about the other one, the Ayukta he discussed earlier? He develops an identity, the ignorant. he does not know his real nature, that is the Atma, the all-pervading Atma, that includes all of us. So he develops an identity with the gross and subtle bodies. When I don't know my real self, then I translate that to, or I project myself onto the body and the mind, that I'm this body, I'm this mind, etc. If I don't know true identity, then I have the scope for making an error. Like I give the example, 8 times 7 is 56. If I know the answer 56, there is no problem. I say 8 times 7 is 56. If I don't know 56, then I may say it is 46 or it is 64 or some other number. So the error comes only with the ignorance. That error, in order to fix that error, I have to remove my ignorance. So he develops an identity with this ignorant person. Therefore, he develops an identity with the gross and subtle bodies. And when you develop an identity with the gross and subtle bodies, it is the gross and subtle bodies that are interacting or that are in the domain of action. Therefore, you tend to say, I am acting, I am seeing, I am enjoying, I am tasting, etc., etc. The I project on the body and not the real self. So the Deva projects the body and mind on himself and identifies as the doer in the activities. Therefore, this is the error. The error is projecting myself on the body and mind, and this error is caused by ignorance of my real knowledge. If I know my real knowledge, there is no scope for error at all. So that ignorance has to be attacked and ignorance has to be removed. That is the whole Bhagavad Gita and the Upanishads and Brahma Sutras. So seeing only inaction in transactions of the body. So when he has separated himself from the transactions of the body, the Atma is not acting, is not engaged in any action. He is competent to renounce all actions. Only when I know that I have no relationship with it, then I can renounce actions. If I call myself body and then the body is acting, then I cannot renounce. So that has to be the karma. He has no karma only when he realizes that he is different from the Atma is different from the body. So he becomes then not attuned to body. He does not identify with the body, and the body is a covering and has no pride in the body itself. So by disowning the body, all the sense organs and motor organs associated with the body become worthless. From the perspective of the Atma, the sense organs, the eyes, the ears, the tongue, etc. I have, they are useless for the Atma because the Atma does not engage in any actions. These are all tools of action. If I don't engage in action, what is the use of the tools of action for me? So that becomes futile or worthless from the perspective of that Atma level. And so the Atma is beyond the body and sense organs. That awakening is in him. So he is a witness to all the transactions of the body and mind. He is not a doer. See, this is the difference. If I identify with the body and mind, I become the doer. If I don't identify with the body and mind, I become a witness. Like my body is different and the person working on the street on repairing the street is different. So at the body level, I become a witness to his actions. Now you translate that within yourself, within us, there is the Atma and the body. And if I associate myself with the body, I become a doer. If I associate myself with the Atma, I become a witness. What is happening in the body? So our goal then is to become a witness and not a doer. Doer is what gets me the fruits of action and the transmigration and all. But if I become a witness, then there is no attachment of the karma with me at all. So, a knower of the tattva, this tattva jnani will continue discussing this. The why is knowing his real identity as witness. Now he knows that he is a witness, does not project the dharma of the body and mind on himself. Now, the dharma is the dharma of the body and mind to interact. But I know I am not the body, and with that, I don't project the actions of the body and mind on myself. I become a karta and non-doer. So he remains free of modifications. So what is this modification in the mind? Pain and pleasure. Sometimes I feel the pain, sometimes I feel the pleasure. All because I identify with the action. But if I don't identify with the action at all, there is no pain, there is no pleasure. Equanimity. That is the natural state of bliss. All our pain comes because we are constantly associating with the body. Take the case example of our own sleep. In the night when we are sleeping, we are detached from the body and mind. Do we have pain and pleasure? If you don't have any dream, or if you are in the state of deep sleep, there is no dream there. There is no pain, there is no pleasure. All the pain and pleasure comes when we identify ourselves as the body. And that is going to be, anytime you identify the body, it is pain or pleasure. One of the two is inevitable. So this person, he has categorized himself such that he is different from these objects, from the body and the mind. He does not indulge in the unreality of transmigratory pleasures. So this samsara sukha, samsara dukkha, that is what I call as transmigratory pleasures. Samsara is nothing but the cycle of birth and death. And as long as I remain aloof to the Atma and engage myself as body and mind, then it's inevitable that I have these transmigratory pleasures or pains. But if I stay at the Atma level, the body has its own activities and its own pain and pleasure. I am disassociated with it. So that is what differentiates between a jnani and a ignorant person. See, there is this one story. Ramana Maharshi, he had a surgery. Apparently, he was in the night when he was in his room sleeping. There was an attendant who was looking after him. And at some point, Ramana Maharshi turned to the other side, and in the process of turning, he experienced, he made a call, he made a nice sound, like this, as if something pained. And then the attendant who was looking after him, he said, "It looks like you're experiencing pain." You see, so this, and then Ramana Maharshi said, "It appears to me also." There the attendant is describing Ramana Maharshi as the body. Ramana Maharshi is, when he says, "It appears to me also," so he, the Atma, has separated himself from the body. He has become a witness, and he is not the experiencer. That's the difference between a jnani and an ajnani. So such a jnani, even as he's transacting in the world of objects, he does not identify with the objects or in their transactions. Like this example of Ramana Maharshi, he did not participate in the pain itself. He remained as a witness to the pain. And as remaining as a witness to the pain, he did not, dismiss the attendant's views. He himself remained in the Atma. So the example this Shankaracharya gives in his commentary is this: the thirsty person who finds out that it is not water, but just a mirage, he will not engage in the act of drinking. So the knowledge that it is not water, it is the mirage, that appeared like water, he will not engage in the act of drinking. Likewise, a jnani, he will not engage in any action, knowing that he is the Atma and not the body. So that is understood here, that you make that yourself as the witness. नैव किञ्चित् करोमि इति
न एव किञ्चित् करोमि इति न एव किञ्चित् करोमि इति
युक्तः मन्येत तत्त्ववित्
युक्तः मन्येत तत्त्ववित् युक्तः मन्येत तत्त्ववित्
नैव किञ्चित् करोमीति युक्तो मन्येत तत्त्ववित्
नैव किञ्चित् करोमीति युक्तो मन्येत तत्त्ववित् नैव किञ्चित् करोमीति युक्तो मन्येत तत्त्ववित् नैव किञ्चित् करोमीति युक्तो मन्येत तत्त्ववित्
पश्यन् शृण्वन् स्पृशन् जिघ्रन्
पश्यन् शृण्वन् स्पृशन् जिघ्रन् पश्यन् शृण्वन् स्पृशन् जिघ्रन्
अश्नन् गच्छन् स्वपन् श्वसन्
अश्नन् गच्छन् स्वपन् श्वसन् अश्नन् गच्छन् स्वपन् श्वसन्
पश्यन् शृण्वन् स्पृशन् जिघ्रन् अश्नन् गच्छन् स्वपन् श्वसन्
पश्यन् शृण्वन् स्पृशन् जिघ्रन् अश्नन् गच्छन् स्वपन् श्वसन् पश्यन् शृण्वन् स्पृशन् जिघ्रन् अश्नन् गच्छन् स्वपन् श्वसन् पश्यन् शृण्वन् स्पृशन् जिघ्रन् अश्नन् गच्छन् स्वपन् श्वसन्
नैव किञ्चित् करोमीति युक्तो मन्येत तत्त्ववित् पश्यन् शृण्वन् स्पृशन् जिघ्रन् अश्नन् गच्छन् स्वपन् श्वसन्
नैव किञ्चित् करोमीति युक्तो मन्येत तत्त्ववित् पश्यन् शृण्वन् स्पृशन् जिघ्रन् अश्नन् गच्छन् स्वपन् श्वसन् नैव किञ्चित् करोमीति युक्तो मन्येत तत्त्ववित् पश्यन् शृण्वन् स्पृशन् जिघ्रन् अश्वन् गच्छन् स्वपन् श्वसन् नैव किञ्चित् करोमीति युक्तो मन्येत तत्त्ववित् पश्यन् शृण्वन् स्पृशन् जिघ्रन् अश्नन् गच्छन् स्वपन् श्वसन्.
Let us learn the next one also and then do the three together. Pralapan visrijan grinhan unmishan nimishannapi
प्रलपन्
visrijan
विसृजन्
grinhan pralapan visrijan grinhan
प्रलपन् विसृजन् गृह्णन् प्रलपन् विसृजन् गृह्णन्
unmishan nimishan api
उन्मिषन् निमिषन् अपि उन्मिषन् निमिषन् अपि
pralapan visrijan grinhan unmishan nimishan api
प्रलपन् विसृजन् गृह्णन् उन्मिषन् निमिषन् अपि प्रलपन् विसृजन् गृह्णन् उन्मिषन् निमिषन् अपि प्रलपन् विसृजन् गृह्णन् उन्मिषन् निमिषन् अपि
Indriyani indriya artheshu
इन्द्रियाणि इन्द्रियार्थेषु इन्द्रियाणि इन्द्रिय अर्थेषु
वर्तन्त इति धारयन्
वर्तन्त इति धारयन् वर्तन्त इति धारयन्
इन्द्रियाणीन्द्रियार्थेषु वर्तन्त इति धारयन्
इन्द्रियाणीन्द्रियार्थेषु वर्तन्त इति धारयन् इन्द्रियाणीन्द्रियार्थेषु वर्तन्त इति धारयन् इन्द्रियाणीन्द्रियार्थेषु वर्तन्त इति धारयन्
प्रलपन् विसृजन् गृह्णन् उन्मिषन् निमिषन्नपि इन्द्रियाणीन्द्रियार्थेषु वर्तन्त इति धारयन्
प्रलपन् विसृजन् गृह्णन् उन्मिषन् निमिषन्नपि इन्द्रियाणीन्द्रियार्थेषु वर्तन्त इति धारयन् प्रलपन् विसृजन् गृह्णन् उन्मिषन् निमिषन्नपि इन्द्रियाणीन्द्रियार्थेषु वर्तन्त इति धारयन् प्रलपन् विसृजन् गृह्णन् उन्मिषन् निमिषन्नपि इन्द्रियाणीन्द्रियार्थेषु वर्तन्त इति धारयन्.
Let us do from 6 to 9, 4 verses. Sannyāsastu mahābhāvo dukkhamāptumayogataha yoga-yukto munir-brahma nachirena-jigacchati yoga-yukto vishuddhātma vijitātma jitendriyaha sarvabhutātma bhutātma kurvannapi na lipyate naiva kinchit karomiti yukto manyita tattvavit pashyan shrunvan sprushan jigran aishtan gachan swapan shwasan pralapan visrujan grinnan mishan nimishannapi indriyanindriyartheshu vartanta iti dharayan. Moving on. Brahmanyadhaya karmani sangam tyaktva karoti yaha lipyate na sapapena padmapatramivambhasa yaha brahmani karmani adaya. He who surrenders all actions in God. Here is a tactic he is giving. How to detach ourselves from karma. He is giving a tactic here. Surrender all the actions to God. That's what yaha karmani brahmani adaya sangam tyaktva karoti. So he engages in action, detached. Saha papena lipyate. He is not tainted by sins. Papa literal meaning is sin, but what is meant here is the fruits of action. He is not tainted by the fruits of action. And an example is given, Padma Patram Iva Ambhasa. If you have a drop of water on the lotus leaf, the water placed on the lotus leaf, it does not get absorbed. Like that, he says the actions do not bind the person. The actions remain aloof from the Atma, like the Padma Patra Iva Ambasa, like a drop of water on the leaf of the lotus flower. A detached person, therefore, who surrenders all his actions in the Lord, he is not polluted like a water on a lotus leaf. So the tactic is given here. We must invest all actions as an offering to Ishvara. Everything, okay, what am I doing? I'm doing to please you, Lord. I'm doing so and so today to please you. This is the first step. I cannot myself detach from actions to directly, but indirectly I'm detaching from the fruits of action. And when you continuously practice this detaching from the fruits of action, then a time comes you'll be detaching yourself from the action also. That's the goal. So this is a tactic. So he invests all actions as an offering to Ishvara, doing actions without seeking the fruit of liberation also. Even at at this point, it's okay to have a goal of liberation. But as a person graduates, proceeds in this path, offering all actions to Ishvara, then you have to, even the liberation becomes a desire, and we get hung up with it. So even that we will have to, if liberation is to happen, he will take care of it. Why should I bother? That detachment should be in us. That dispassion should be in us. So working as if, like when we work in a company, we are doing the company's work. We are not doing our work. We are doing work for the company. Like that, we do work for the Ishvara on a higher plane. So then that sentiment should be there. And once you do that, all these, what are the karmas that we are talking here? These are the karmas prescribed, like worship of the Lord, yajna, dana, tapas. These are all, we'll see later on also that yajna, dana, tapa, karma, natyajamiti cha apare, 18th chapter, he says. So these are actions that we should continue to cultivate or do as an offering to the Lord, not as driven by a motive or a cause or a desire. So what happens if we do that? Then there is no residue of karma pala. He is indifferent to the body. Actions happen in the body, and therefore the body, as far as my mind is concerned, there is no implant of a imprint. There is no imprint of this karma in my mind, and therefore there is no fruits associated with that. How is this fruit being experienced? Only if there's a thought in my mind at the time of death. This is how it is described in the Upanishads. At the time of death, all my actions, all the imprints that are in my mind, they come in front of me. And then I'm choosing which one of these karmas I have to fructify in my next life. Say I am old and this body has become useless for me to continue my karmas that I have to do. Then what are the karmas? All these imprints that we have implanted in the mind during our working life, then they all come in front of us. And then we are deciding which karma I have to fructify. I don't know which karma gives me what. See that I know only that I have this karma to fructify, but in what way it fructifies, I don't know. Ishvara is the decider of the fructification, the form of fructification of that karma. So I latch on to again and again. I latch on to a particular karma. And when I latch on to a particular karma, as the prana leaves this body, that thought goes with the mind that is encapsulated in the prana. And that thought is what gives me the next life. And what next life? The Lord decides, not me. So if I don't plant that thought itself now, I did this karma. If I don't plant that thought in my mind, there is no, at the time of death, that action does not, that imprint is not there, so it doesn't come in front of me. And therefore, I reduce the scope for fructification of karmas after the end of this life. And that way I reduce transmigration also. If we do this in a few lives, ultimately there is no imprint to be fructified. And so it goes like that. So that I'm giving some tidbits of the mechanics of how the karma plays out. So in offering the karma itself, so there is no residue of karma phala, and therefore there is no next life. So such a person is not affected by the karmas because there is no print of that karma in his mind. Like the water remains detached on the lotus leaf. Padmapatra mivambasa. So the only outcome of his actions is the purification of his mind, because there is no impressions in the mind. There is no data in the mind. When there is no data in the mind, it's a purified mind. Like in your computer, you keep on adding. So whether you add data or whether you add a virus in it, it is being populated. But when that nothing is stored, the hard disk remains empty. Therefore, it is pure in that sense. So even as the lotus flower resides in water. See, the lotus itself is the plant is in the water, but the water does not stick to the flower. That is how that staying in the water is synonymous with staying in this world with for us. We stay in this world and we should be detached like the this Padmapatra Mivambasa, lotus leaf. No, these things I have been saying again for so many times, for so long. It is so difficult. That is why it is being repeated every now and then. Krishna is very smart in that. There is out of the 700 shlokas in Bhagavad Gita, probably 50 or 60 verses is enough to convey the message. The rest of the verses is more to impress on us, to reinforce to us the importance of this, and in the process of giving commentary on it, we say it again and again a few times. So this is how we get our mind going towards that. Still, it is difficult. The desire is such a strong instinct in us. It is so difficult. That is why Krishna is repeating so often the same thought. Now, the karma per se has no ability to bind the doer. For example, see, karma is inner. Karma kim param, karma tajjana. That's what Ramana says in the what's that? Upadeshara. In the Upadeshara, the first verse he starts with karma kim param, karma tajjadam. So the karma is inert. It has no ability to know that I'm involved in the karma. Like the tree in the hurricane time, the tree does not know that it is felled by the hurricane. But if I am standing there next to the tree and I fall on the ground, I recognize that the hurricane felled me. But the tree has no ability to know that it has fallen. Like that, karma has no ability to bind the doer. Karma is only karma. It has no, being inert, it has no ability to do anything. But the doership, I am the doer. That is what places that piece of information in my mind. So that sentiment is what causes bondage. I do this, means I attach myself to the karma, and I give potency for the karma to act against me also. So when the doership is offered to Paramatma, then again that message is not in my mind, so there is no bondage. So an example is given. Where is the fear in playing with snake void of its teeth? Even a jnani can engage in karma, because the potency of the karma to give him additional life has been removed by offering it as a service to the Lord. So like this, when the snake, the teeth is removed, it has no ability to poison any person, and therefore there is no fear in playing with the snake. Likewise, a jnani, he keeps on doing whatever he has to do. He has no fear of the transmigration or the bondage of the karma. So he keeps on doing. And why it is so is described in the next verse. Brahmani adhaya karmani.
ब्रह्मणि आधाय कर्माणि ब्रह्मणि आधाय कर्माणि
Sangam tyaktva karoti yaha.
सङ्गं त्यक्त्वा करोति यः सङ्गं त्यक्त्वा करोति यः
Brahmanyadhaya karmani. Sangam tyaktva karoti yaha.
ब्रह्मण्याधाय कर्माणि सङ्गं त्यक्त्वा करोति यः ब्रह्मण्याधाय कर्माणि सङ्गं त्यक्त्वा करोति यः ब्रह्मण्याधाय कर्माणि सङ्गं त्यक्त्वा करोति यः
लिप्यते न स पापेन.
लिप्यते न स पापेन लिप्यते न स पापेन
पद्मपत्रम् इव अम्भसा.
पद्मपत्रम् इव अम्भसा पद्मपत्रम् इव अम्भसा
लिप्यते न स पापेन. पद्मपत्रमिवाम्भसा.
लिप्यते न स पापेन पद्मपत्रमिवाम्भसा लिप्यते न स पापेन पद्मपत्रमिवाम्भसा लिप्यते न स पापेन पद्मपत्रमिवाम्भसा
ब्रह्मण्याधाय कर्माणि सङ्गं त्यक्त्वा करोति यः लिप्यते न स पापेन पद्मपत्रमिवाम्भसा.
ब्रह्मण्याधाय कर्माणि सङ्गं त्यक्त्वा करोति यः लिप्यते न स पापेन पद्मपत्रमिवाम्भसा ब्रह्मण्याधाय कर्माणि सङ्गं त्यक्त्वा करोति यः लिप्यते न स पापेन पद्मपत्रमिवाम्भसा ब्रह्मण्याधाय कर्माणि सङ्गं त्यक्त्वा करोति यः लिप्यते न स पापेन पद्मपत्रमिवाम्भसा
From 7 to 10. योगयुक्तो विशुद्धात्मा विजितात्मा जितेन्द्रियः सर्वभूतात्मा कुर्वन्नपि न लिप्यते नैव किञ्चित् करोमीति युक्तो मन्येत तत्त्ववित् पश्यन् शृण्वन् स्पृशन् जिघ्रन् आश्नन् गच्छन् स्वपन् श्वसन् प्रलपन् विसृजन् गृह्णन् विशन् निमिषन्नपि इन्द्रियाणीन्द्रियार्थेषु वर्तन्त इति धारयन् ब्रह्मण्यादाय कर्माणि सङ्गं त्यक्त्वा करोति यः लिप्यते न स पापेन पद्मपत्रमिवाम्भसा. Kayena manasa buddhya kevalairidriyairapi yogina karma kurvanti sangam tyaktva shuddhaye. He says yoginaha kevalaihi kayena. Yoginaha means the karma yogi. He does work karma how? Kevalaihi, he says by body merely. That means the mind, there is no impression in the mind. That is what is to be understood here by the word merely. It just happens without his involvement intellectually in it. Anasa kevalaihi, buddhya kevalaihi. We have to take that kevalaihi along with both the mind and buddhi and body. So manasa kevalaihi, buddhya kevalaihi, indriyaihi api kevalaihi. By mind merely, by intellect merely, and by organs merely. That means the Atma is to be detached from all these actions. He knows that level of clarity that the Atma remains Atma, he is the Atma. It's merely happening in the world of Anatma. Actions are happening. That are Sangam Tyaktva, detached, Atma Shuddhaye Karma Kurvanti. Engage in action to cleanse the mind. So the only purpose of action is to cleanse the mind or purify the mind. Purify the mind in the sense remove all kama and krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya. Those six are considered the enemies of the person. So that the Atma Shuddhaye means the mind is removed of the possibility of having kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, and matsarya. So the yogi detached from all actions through body, mind, and intellect and sense organs merely engages in action for self-purification. So that it does not add anything. There is already some impurities in the mind, but additional karmas does not add additional impurities. He starts purifying the mind from the moment he decides to engage in karma yoga. So what is the message in this verse is minus in all karmas is to be removed. I am the doer, I enjoy it, I have to get the benefit out of this. All this minus has to go out of all our karmas or activities. So when I offer all my actions to Ishvara, it's an offering to Ishvara, not working, seeking its benefit. I work, therefore I have to get this return on this work. That the thought should not be there, because you're offering to Ishvara means it's done, it's his. Kevalaha means merely suggests doing actions without association with the body, etc. It's happening in the domain, but not being strengthening that I-ness in me, in that I am doing, that is removed in the word kevala. Merely I am doing actions. For what? For the delight of Ishvara. If I do this action, Ishvara will be pleased. Therefore, that action is happening for the benefit of, for the delight of Ishvara. I have nothing to do with that. That thought should be there. Even as they are engaged in action, they do not reckon the action. That action does not register in their mind. We see this sometimes, like you are watching something or reading something, it is gripping, but you have brought a cup of coffee or some snacks or something. You may be eating the snack and reading the book all the time, but the big book is so gripping. You are engaged in the book, but the eating, you don't register. But afterwards, you see that empty plate. Then you know that you have eaten something. So does not have a register. That doesn't reckon. The action is not reckoned. That action, that activity has to be conducted, all activities to be conducted that way. So without intellectually sowing the seeds of karma in the mind, that karma has no potency to generate a fruit of karma. As we discussed earlier, that is strengthening that thought. So when I do actions without sowing the seeds of that karma in the mind, that karma has no potency to generate a fruit of karma. So I'm working, the body, mind, intellect are only tools of action. They have nothing to do with the Atma that I am. I have the tools, and it's like, like I'm working on fixing something. I use some tools, but I do actions without myself involving in it. That's the only the tool is doing. I'm not doing. That part should be there. So the seeker shall execute all actions without such attachment to fruits thereof. Excuse me. So motive-free karmas are actions of the organs. That if there is no motivation to act, if some action has to be done, it will automatically happen without that emotionally or intellectually involved in it. So, but whereas when you do karmas, it becomes, with full knowledge of the environment and yourself, it becomes full knowledge and awareness as intellectual karmas. See, this is true when you do a sankalpa. When you say you will do such and such a puja for such and such benefit, then you are in it intellectually, emotionally, you are there. But that should not be there. That's what Krishna says. He says in the 6th chapter also, sankalpa has to be not there. So the yogis do not display any ego in these karmas. When does the ego arise? When I'm emotionally involved in the karma, the ego becomes an issue. I'm detached, emotionally detached. There is no ego in that. Alone, that acting merely without intellectual or emotional involvement, Krishna says, is your competence, and you engage in actions with that objective alone is his message. Here, he says here, yoginaha karma kurvanti sangam tyaktva atma shuddhaye. So that is the only way. Your competence is to cleanse your mind, and you act in actions to cleanse the mind and not for any benefit for yourself. So there cannot be any trace of doership following purity of mind. When such a situation, when you work in such a situation that you are emotionally and intellectually detached, there is no trace of doership. Only the body and the mind are engaged in it, free of minus. Who is the mind? Atma. So free of minus. When I am doing like that, there is no trace of this doership. So knowledge can arise in a mind free of impurities, born of doership. So if my mind is always occupied with the thoughts of my, mine, me, I, like that, there is no scope for the for new knowledge to come in. When I say new knowledge, Adhyatma Vidya, the spiritual knowledge. You apply your basic physics. Two things cannot occupy the same thing at the same time. If I am loading my mind with anatma issues, there is no scope for atma issues there. That is the understanding that we all have to take into consideration here, that knowledge can arise in a mind free of impurities alone. That impurities is coming. How is it coming? Born of doership. As long as I keep on invoking doership, the me, mine, and those thoughts will always be there, and knowledge, Adhyatma Vidya, spiritual knowledge has no place there. In such a purified mind are sown the seeds of self-knowledge, paving the way for liberation. So when that mind is free of those impurities, then there is scope for spiritual knowledge, Adhyatma Vidya, that is the self-knowledge, to enter in there. And when that self-knowledge clearly manifests itself, that is the path for liberation. See, knowledge is also for the sake of liberation only. Knowledge is not just for the sake of knowledge. Knowledge is for liberation, that is having no further birth, and that happens only when the mind is free of all traces of doership. I think that's it. Yeah. Let's learn this and then stop. Kayena manasa buddhya
कायेन मनसा बुद्ध्या कायेन मनसा बुद्ध्या कायेन मनसा बुद्ध्या
केवलैः इन्द्रियैः अपि
केवलैः इन्द्रियैः अपि केवलैः इन्द्रियैः अपि
कायेन मनसा बुद्ध्या केवलैरिन्द्रियैरपि
कायेन मनसा बुद्ध्या केवलैरिन्द्रियैरपि कायेन मनसा बुद्ध्या केवलैरिन्द्रियैरपि कायेन मनसा बुद्ध्या केवलैरिन्द्रियैरपि
योगिनः कर्म कुर्वन्ति
योगिनः कर्म कुर्वन्ति योगिनः कर्म कुर्वन्ति
सङ्गं त्यक्त्वा आत्मशुद्धये
सङ्गं त्यक्त्वा आत्मशुद्धये सङ्गं त्यक्त्वा आत्मशुद्धये
योगिनः कर्म कुर्वन्ति सङ्गं त्यक्त्वात्मशुद्धये
योगिनः कर्म कुर्वन्ति सङ्गं त्यक्त्वात्मशुद्धये योगिनः कर्म कुर्वन्ति सङ्गं त्यक्त्वात्मशुद्धये योगिनः कर्म कुर्वन्ति सङ्गं त्यक्त्वात्मशुद्धये
कायेन मनसा बुद्ध्या केवलैरिन्द्रियैरपि योगिनः कर्म कुर्वन्ति सङ्गं त्यक्त्वात्मशुद्धये
कायेन मनसा बुद्ध्या केवलैरिन्द्रियैरपि योगिनः कर्म कुर्वन्ति सङ्गं त्यक्त्वात्मशुद्धये कायेन मनसा बुद्ध्या केवलैरिन्द्रियैरपि योगिनः कर्म कुर्वन्ति सङ्गं त्यक्त्वात्मशुद्धये कायेन मनसा बुद्ध्या केवलैरिन्द्रियैरपि योगिनः कर्म कुर्वन्ति सङ्गं त्यक्त्वात्मशुद्धये
9, 10 and 11 प्रलपन् विसृजन् गृह्णन् उन्मिषन् निमिषन्नपि इन्द्रियाणीन्द्रियार्थेषु अन्त इति धारयन् ब्रह्मण्याधाय कर्माणि सङ्गं त्यक्त्वा करोति यः लिप्यते न स पापेन पद्मपत्रमिवाम्भसा कायेन मनसा बुद्ध्या केवलैरिन्द्रियैरपि योगिनः कर्म कुर्वन्ति Sangam Tyaktvatmashuddhaye. So what is to be understood from this verse in particular is karma. There are, our outlook is two different outlooks are there. One is a spiritual outlook, another is an enjoyment outlook or a transmigratory outlook. So if we want to enjoy life, transmigration is acceptable, and accept the pain and the pleasure both. No problem. That's perfectly, as long as in the 7th chapter, he says, Dharma virodha bhuteshu kamosmi bharatarshava. I am the desire that is not opposed to dharma. That's what Krishna says. So desire itself is not wrong, but the desire be it in association in the lane of dharma. That is one kind of living. We can live that kind of living, or we can seek the spiritual living. The spiritual living in the plane of spiritual living, the only function of karma is Atma Shuddhiya, cleansing the mind. So from the spiritual perspective, karma has a role only to purify the mind. From the transmigratory life, karma, good karma, karma in the line of dharma is acceptable, but you accept the consequences of that also, which is sometimes pain, sometimes pleasure, because all our karmas don't always succeed. And we will continue like that for some time. Somewhere along the line, we say, okay, I'm done with this kind of painful life. I'm ready to move on to something which does not give me this pain. Then the mind becomes, at that point, the karma becomes only a means for purifying the mind and nothing else. All right, we will continue in the next class. Yuktaha karma phalam tyaktva shantimapnoti naishtikim ayuktaha kamakarena phale sakto nibadhyate. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Next class, Yashoda Bhatt, can you do the opening prayer?
Oh, okay. What kind of prayer? I don't know what kind of prayer.
What we do, the invocation and the dhyana